Now this is Podgazing.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Podgazer podcast. I'm your host, Star Wars Gazer, and I'm joined by the one, the only Nilda, Appetite for Collectibles. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. We've been trying to make this happen for a little bit now. It's
I
just kind of
know. I've been sick for it's been what? It's been since the week I got back from ICC.
So you must have caught something there.
Yeah, but I got tested and everything. Nothing was COVID or anything. It was just a really bad cold.
Yeah, that's wild. We got a lot to talk about here. We got some people in the house. We got Mr. Flex. What's up, Mr. Flex? How you doing? Good to see you. We got Wrath of Mandalore. How are you doing? What's up? Good to have you. So let's see. Take all of his collectibles, Nilda. I love that.
It's actually kind of funny.
You can have everything except this and maybe my Boba Fett ship. Can you leave that, please? Oh man. So a couple of questions I like to ask, just to kind of get things started, kind of get us gelled in, break some ice, so to speak. What is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Ooh. See, I always flip around, but then I always go back to still my favorite. It's always gonna be can't even speak English right now. It's it's always gonna be The Empire Strikes Back, but then within I flip back and forth between The Empire Strikes Back to Rogue One to then Revenge of the Sith. So it's like those three are my top favorite.
Love
But
it.
Empire Strike Back is my ultimate. I know almost all the words in that film, and
Yes.
it's quite embarrassing of anybody who's been with me to the theaters to see that movie. They literally are like, Nilda, shut up.
Would you stop? Let the movie talk. Then
Yeah.
You'll like this shirt I got from Rebel Scum. I don't know if you can see it inside the visor.
Yeah, that's sick.
It's got Han and
Solo.
Carbonite. Yeah. So Boba Fett's my favorite character. So
yeah, I got a few of the Fets here.
yeah, I like it. We got some other folks in the house here. We got, let's see here. Crafting on Ilium. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate that.
It's my little sister.
Is it really?
Yeah, she's my con sister. Like we made a promise to each other that every con that we go to, we're roommates.
I love it. I love it. What is the next convention you're going
to? Next one, I was supposed to attend one in South Dakota, but they kept canceling my flights. So luckily I have a really good friend of mine who is going to that. So he's going to be getting the signatures for me. But there's one here in Florida called Spooky Empire because I also love horror movies as well.
Okay.
So I'm going to that. And then after that should be Florida SuperCon. And I'm going to go there to go meet John Boyega, Michelle Ang, and Dee Bradley Baker.
Oh, that's sweet. That's really cool. I'm going to beginning of January here over 4th of July weekend. I'm going to Denver Fan Expo.
I heard that one is really good.
Yeah. Theory's going to be there obviously again. And then they just announced today John Boyega will be there. They also have, there's some other stuff that I'm starting to get into. So my wife and her twin sister have always been into the Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Okay.
And the whole cast is going to be there, which is really cool. And then some other people, like the whole cast of Smallville, which my wife loves Smallville.
Oof.
So super excited for that.
See, I actually, over here we have this thing called MegaCon. And within the past couple years, they've always done everything has always been Star Wars, which I don't complain about. But I actually loved this previous year because they had a small cast of Star Wars, but it's they had a variety of everything for everybody who loves stuff. So it was awesome. I was able to get signatures for my horror book that I have, signatures for some of the anime stuff that I like, and then I was able to get some Star Wars stuff. So
that's cool.
I like the fan expos and the megacons because they like to what is it called? They like to cater to every type of fandom.
Yeah. That's so cool. All right. So who is your favorite Star Wars character?
Ugh, no, I can't make that noise. So mine is Ahsoka.
All right.
I yeah, I like most people in the community know me as like the biggest Ahsoka fan. I have Ashley Eckstein signed my leg. I got it tattooed. Rosario, yeah, Rosario signed my leg. I have that tattoo as well.
Dang.
Yeah, Flex was with me when I got the Ashley Eckstein one. He like recorded that whole segment.
That is
It was
so awesome.
Yeah, and then
I
like
love that.
I want to say like the majority of my collection, it's about like 65% is all Ahsoka. I have like every Funko Pop signed by every character. I have signatures done by every person who's ever portrayed Ahsoka, meaning voice acting, any of the stunt doubles. I've tried to get their signatures as well. And
That's
like I
so
said,
cool.
I try to get every figure that Ahsoka has ever been made into.
Wow. So you would get along with my daughter then. My 10-year-old daughter, she's a Ahsoka freak. She
Really?
loves Ahsoka. Oh yeah. I bought when I came home from ICCC, I had gotten her some really cool Ahsoka posters for her room. And she's over the moon. She loves Ahsoka. So
Oh.
when Star Wars Theory first came out with the snip sabers, she's like, Dad, you got to get those. I'm like, Dad ain't got the money right now. Like,
I
maybe
know
one
they're
day.
pretty pricey.
They are,
I have
but
the
they're cool.
ones. I have the ones from like Galaxy's Edge.
Okay.
A friend of mine goes there all the time, and then I guess he had them for like a year, and he never opened them. And then he messaged me, and he was like, "Dude, I'll cut you a deal with them." He's like, "If you'll take it off my hands now." And then as soon as he told me the price, I'm like, "I'm selling you right now."
Right? I love it. Toy Bill's back here. It says Empire. Yeah, buddy. Love that one. That one's my favorite.
That's my go-to film to watch almost every night when I'm like in bed and I can't figure out what to watch. I'm like, I'll just put on Empire.
Right? 100%. I'm with you on that. I love that. That's just the Nilda bonus commentary. Love it. Got Zombie Hunter 115 in here. Thank you guys for watching. I
Hey,
appreciate you
zombie.
guys. What has been your favorite Star Wars TV show? Now, you can pick one from animation and one from live action. I'll make it a little easier.
So live action would be Ahsoka. It was phenomenal. And like I said, I'm very biased when anybody asks me that because I'm always gonna say Ahsoka. I remember
Yeah.
we were doing weekly recaps on that show, and I constantly always kept saying that every episode was a 10. I could never diminish it and give it like a lower number because I was so biased on it. And then Clone Wars is my ultimate favorite.
I love it.
Yeah, like a lot of people, not in my generation, but a lot of people started watching Clone Wars after the show had finally aired and everything was out, and like you had to watch that in order to understand certain shows like Ahsoka,
Yeah,
or you had to watch Rebels as well. But I watched Clone Wars as it was live.
that's
So
cool.
it's like I waited, every week to watch an episode and like thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I remember when the last season came out, like my cousin and I were watching it. We watched the trailer together and we were just like booger fested tears because the writing was just so incredible.
It
And
was.
and it's like a lot of people said with that show that it was very childlike, but again, George Lucas created Star Wars to appeal for children. So it
Right.
was like they made this show for children, but then it just got darker and darker and darker. And then towards the end, it was the darkest thing you've ever seen in Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I loved it. We got Macman in here. Hello, Macman. He says Clone Wars Weekly was so much fun.
It was so much fun. And then I loved it like when all the seasons came out except for the final, Netflix at the time had all of it on their platform.
Yeah.
So it was
Yep.
like I was binge watching the crap out of it. Disney XD was showing it as well. So it was like we were getting a
Yeah.
good run of Clone Wars before it came out. And then eventually I ended up buying it all on DVD, which I still have.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, so the Netflix thing that you're talking about, that's where I end up watching it. So it's funny. I had moved down to Nebraska in 2016. I think it was around 2017 or 2018. Some of it had gone on to Netflix. and I needed to do something. So I was like, I'm gonna throw this on for my kids, and I'm looking on Netflix, and I was like, oh, Star Wars Clone Wars, cool, Star Wars cartoon. Let the kids watch it. So I turn it on, and I'm in the other room, and I'm listening to this as I'm doing my thing, and I'm like, poke my head back in the room, and I'm watching. Next thing you know, I'm sitting on the couch with the kids, like, this is so good, like. And then I just binge watched it from there, and it was, oh man, I
Yeah,
love
and
the
like
combo.
with that show, you got more side stories of other characters that you really didn't think that you were gonna get.
Right.
Like it was more in depth with Plo Koon. Like you got to know how
Yeah.
he was, and basically he was essentially like the father to Ahsoka.
Yep. 100%.
One hundred
Which
percent.
which I just learned this weekend from Theory's interview with James Arnold Taylor that James Arnold Taylor voiced Plo Koon.
Yeah,
I had no idea that he voiced Plo Koon. I was like, what?
yeah.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
James voice. So I went, like I said, here in Florida, they have this thing called Florida SuperCon.
Yeah.
And I think it was last year or the year before. It was the 15-year anniversary of the Clone Wars.
Okay.
And they had James, Ashley, and can even I'm drawing a brain fart now.
Matt.
Matt, thank you. I was like,
Yeah.
why couldn't I not say his name?
Yep.
They had Matt there at the con, and I did the photo ops and signings with them. And then they had their Clone Wars 15-year panel. And like I was there like 3 hours before this panel started because I wanted to get right in the front row.
I love it.
And they were doing all the recaps of like how it started, how they didn't know anything. And then James, I remember saying that when he got the call to do the show, he was laughing because they gave him call sheets and it had all different characters on there. So he was like, I was voicing a couple people. He's like, but I thought I was just only voicing, Obi-Wan.
I love it. Yeah, he voices so many things that I never knew. Like he even talked about like I love the Princess Bride, and
Yeah.
he's a voice double for the giant. I can't think of his name now. Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant.
Yeah. Like I'm like, this dude is so good, man, at different voices and stuff. It's unreal.
Imagine seeing him at this panel and he was going into character with all the different voices that he's done. I
I
have the
love it.
video. It's hilarious. He
You gotta
literally
send that to me. I want to see that.
I will. He literally was like changing his voice. And then just seeing their whole dynamic was awesome, especially like they're still very close knit group.
Yeah.
So that just made it like more enjoyable for me with the Clone Wars because I'm like, I've been obsessing over this show for 15 plus years. And like just to see that my trio are still very close friends. They go on cons together and they just have so much respect for each other. It brings a lot of joy into that.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. I love talking to people like that are really good at their craft, like I would love to talk to James Arnold Taylor. That dude, I got to talk to Mark Thompson. Like his voice acting for those Audible books are just, oh, they're so
Yeah,
good. But and then you have people like Millennium Workshop, right? You and I both know Rex. Like
love him.
dude, his Greedo head he had at ICCC was unreal. It was so cool.
Wait until you see the one that he's making for me.
Is he gonna do same color? Or are you changing
So
it up a little bit?
so we're making a female version of Greedo. Her name
Yes.
is Greta.
Yeah.
And Rex is such I can't share this yet until like I get it in my hands. But Rex literally has been writing stories about how Greta came to be. Like I can show you what she looks like so far.
Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
But the cool thing is she's gonna have like eyelashes. She's gonna be like very feminine. I think that we're gonna tattoo like he's gonna put like a tattoo over her eyelid that says Greedo.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he's like making this story about Greta, how she like loses her mind after Greedo is killed by Han Solo, and she just goes on this war path of just like hunting down anybody who turned against him. But yeah, like you can see, like this is the whole story of
Oh my
Greta.
gosh. Holy cow. I
But it's
love that
the
he's getting into it,
oh
man.
yeah, like dude, me and him were talking about that. Like the moment I saw it at ICC, I was like, I need that. He was like, "Really?" I said, "Yes, I need that as a female Greta." I was like, "I'm not gonna dress up like a boy. I'll dress up like a girl."
I love it. Macman says, "What's your favorite Star Wars movie?" Macman, she said it goes between usually Empire, but sometimes Rogue One and Revenge of the Sith. So
Yeah.
those are her faves. John B says, like D. Bradley Baker sitting in a room having an 8-person conversation with himself. Yeah, you're not
Yes.
wrong.
So
Millennium
you were
says, "Hey, that's my story."
it is.
What's up, Millennium? How you doing, sir?
Hi, Rux. No, so like you know how you were saying that like talking to people like Mark Thompson and like James Taylor, like that's how I feel about D. Bradley Baker. So I did like I got to do like, it was like a minute interview with him at MegaCon.
Okay.
And it was right after Bad Batch just ended, like series finale.
Oh, dude.
And I had my GoPro camera on me and I like pointed at the GoPro to like make sure it was okay with him that I was recording this. And I asked him, I
Mm.
said, are the clones ever going to get another backstory? And he just ranted and was just talking about, like, yeah, they deserve it. And
Yeah.
then he starts like shifting his voice into all the different characters. It was great. And that man is impeccable. I have so much respect for him.
Can you imagine getting like Mark Thompson, James Arnold Taylor, and D. Bradley Baker all in a room together?
Oh, yeah, I think it would be
Dude,
great.
that would be awesome. It'd be so cool. Like, all right, everyone shush. All right, we're gonna let these you guys just have a conversation with whoever you voice. I don't care. Just go. I'll just sit here. I'm gonna record. And
Yeah.
we're gonna go. Um, he says you talk to Captain Rex. Super jealous.
Yeah, it's funny. So we all know he voices all these different characters. So I think I have met him now like a total of 4 times, and every time I see him, I think the third time he finally recognized who I was because of the plaques that I bring. But he starts laughing because I've brought him, I brought him a record plaque. Then the next one was I brought him all the clones, like all the Bad Batch clones. So he signed that. Then the third one was a Captain Rex one. So, and then I think the last one I forgot, it was another clone. And the last time he saw me, he was like, "Are we going to do this again?" And I said, "Yes." I was like, "I'm going to bring you a Cody plaque." So when I meet him in July, I'm going to bring the Cody plaque with me to see if he remembers.
That's cool. I love it. I love being able to meet those folks. So one thing I want to start before we talk about different conventions and stuff that we've kind of gone to and is what got you started on this YouTube journey? Because I know you do a lot of interviews yourself, and that's kind of where I'm starting to steer my YouTube channel is a lot of interviews. What got you started on this path of YouTube and appetite for collectibles?
So Appetite Collectibles started it was like the middle of 2020. I had a podcast show that I had with my cousin.
Okay.
And we had like creative like it was hard for us to like work together because
Yeah.
he had his way. He went to school for broadcasting and all this stuff. And I had a vision of like what to get us up there. And we just could not get creatively
Mm,
together. And we had like this stupid funny argument. And I remember texting him and I said, "Watch." I said, "I'm going to make my own YouTube channel without knowing anything on what to do." I said, "And I'm going to be better than you." I said, "And you'll see this in a year." I said, "Give me a year and I'll be better than you." And I said it as a joke, like I wasn't really serious about it. Um and then like I was sitting in my house and I was getting ready to play a record because I love listening to vinyl.
oh, sick.
So I was like going through my vinyl collection, and the first vinyl I pull out was Guns N' Roses.
Love Guns N' Roses.
So they have an album called Appetite for Destruction.
Ah, haha, I see where you're going with this now. Okay.
So yeah, and mind you, I'm in my room just rearranging my whole collection, and I remember I turned around and it was like boom, like a light bulb. And I was like, I'm gonna name my channel Appetite for Collectibles.
That's so cool. I
And
love it.
it started from that. And then I wanted to do something different because I saw that most YouTube was all males
Yeah.
and they didn't have a lot of female collectors out there. They did have some, but that was it. And at first, like my whole YouTube channel was based off of interviewing people who lived in Florida
Okay.
who were collectors and really didn't want to showcase their collections, or that were too nervous to show it because they didn't want people making fun of them. So like my first 4 episodes that I did, which were phenomenal. And actually, I'm going to one of the houses that I originally filmed at this Friday to do a recap episode.
Wow.
So I did the largest Godzilla collection in Florida. I did the largest He-Man collection in Florida. Another girl had like the largest Garbage Pail Kids collection I've ever seen. It was beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah. And then another one was the largest video game collection ever in somebody's house.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's how it all stemmed from. And then eventually, like, I just started doing more Star Wars stuff. And then I got very comfortable, like, talking to some of the celebrities at cons. And eventually, I ended up making friends with some of them, just from, like, seeing them continuously at cons. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it out and see what's the worst that can happen. They're going to say no.
Right.
And then eventually, like, I started interviewing some people. And then my biggest break was that I got to interview Amy Allen and Michonne, who play Aayla Secura and I can't even speak right now. It's Bounty Hunter and Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So I ended up interviewing both of them, and we had such a great time, and they loved the fact that I was a female collector and like knew all my Star Wars stuff. And they were like, we'll set you up with some interviews. And then eventually it just kept going from next person to next person. And I try to build like a really good relationship with them where, like, I didn't disclose anything that they told me. Most of our interviews were all pre-recorded until like some of them were actually comfortable to go full live stream.
Yeah. That's so cool. I love that. So, has Star Wars for you, because you said after a bit you started getting into this lot more Star Wars stuff. Has Star Wars always been part of your life, or is it something that, especially as you got into the YouTube world, it just kind of started coming
Oh
down that
no.
road?
I've been a fan of Star Wars since I was 7.
Okay, cool.
So when I was a kid, I grew up in in a very dominant Cuban, Puerto Rican, Chinese household, and English was not our first language.
Okay.
So, when my grandmother was alive, she really did not want us to speak English in the house. She wanted us to continue speaking Spanish
Okay.
because she wanted to keep that tradition. And then when she passed away, my mom, wanted me to get acclimated with the people in school. So she was like, you're going to have to learn how to speak English. So I was going to, in Florida, they call them ESOL classes, where it's like,
Okay.
You learn how to speak English, or they teach you, like the language. And also my mom had me watch movies, and the first one she put on was Star Wars. I didn't understand a word that they were saying, but I just loved all the imagery. I thought Mark Hamill was absolutely handsome. And it was just like a whole bunch of different stuff, and I fell in love with it. And then from there on, it just started this massive thing in my life.
So, what makes Empire your favorite? Was that the first one you ever got shown, or?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's what I was wondering. I was like, oh, I wonder if that's the first one that I ever got put on for her. That's so cool. I love
Yeah.
that.
So like I owe my obsession to my mom. So like every time it's like May the 4th, I always text my mom. I'm like, thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
I'm like, you created a monster.
I know, right? That's what I always say too. Is like my dad, like he likes Star Wars, but he's not like necessarily like a huge Star Wars fan. But growing up, he always had like that gold box set of VHS tapes,
Ugh.
and I would always watch them all the time. And I was like, little did he know, he created a Star Wars monster now, and it's a lot of fun too, because like, especially with like the lightsabers and stuff, and
Mhm.
I've Darth Vader's helmet now, like these different things. Like every time I get something, I bring it over to show my dad, and you can kind of see the little kid in him start to come back out, and it's, I don't know, it's always cool that Star Wars does that. So,
You talk about VHS tapes. I own like a big collection of it, and every time I get
okay.
a new VHS, I'm like smelling them.
I love that. What is your favorite thing to collect? I know you collect a lot of everything, but like, what's your kind of like if you see this at a con, you're like, this is 100% coming home, no questions asked.
I don't know. It always depends. Like right now, I'm going through like a book phase.
Okay.
So like, you know, I'm having books like being delivered to my house all the time, and it's like all different Star Wars novels, whole bunch of like rare books. Um, Recently I've been collecting like video games too. Like I've been trying to collect every Star Wars video game that's been out for like PlayStation.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I don't know, it just always depends on the mood, depending on like where I'm at and if something like strikes a nerve. Um, like the other day I bought like 7 Star Wars Time magazines.
That's awesome.
Just randomly wanted them because I had like 3 already at the house. So I was like, let me, add the ones that I'm missing.
I love that.
I
That's
call
awesome.
myself like a very calm hoarder.
You're an eclectic of
An
collectibles.
eclectic, yeah. Because then sometimes I like will not collect Star Wars for like a while, and then you know, like I said, I'm also a big horror fan, so like I'll dive and start buying like stuff for like my horror collection, and then I'll stop doing that for a little bit, and then go back to Star Wars.
That's awesome. I love that. So obviously you've been traveling to cons a little bit. You started in Florida kind of this last couple weeks, not even that long ago, really. Man, it seems like it's a lot longer than it has been because
I
like,
know.
oh man. Life has just been crazy. But was ICCC this year? Was that the first time you've been to ICC or had you gone
No,
previously?
I've been going to them previously.
Okay. So what'd you think of ICCC this year? So this was my first time. So
Okay.
what'd you think of it this year?
I thought it was great. For me, it just sucked because I was only there for one day. So it was like
Mm.
I was in a rushed process
Yes.
because I got there a little late. And then, I was there to get signatures and then like film real quick. And then I had to immediately like dip out to go catch a flight, which the airport was like 30 minutes away from where
Yes.
ICC was.
Yep.
So, like I said, I had a great time. I got to see people that I didn't get to see, like Toy Bills. I got to meet you.
Yep.
Um, I had already interviewed Roger Christian, but like me and him never got to meet face to face. And then when
Yeah.
we did, we like, I thought it was going to be like a quick interaction, and me and him ended up speaking for like an hour.
Yeah.
So,
It's never a quick interaction with Roger, and it's awesome.
oh, and it was beautiful. And like, for him to tell me that he appreciated me for being a woman who loves Star Wars and like I actually knew my stuff, it was like the most rewarding thing to have somebody
Mm.
say to me,
Yeah.
especially somebody of his caliber.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had such a great time with him. I got to hang out with other people there, got to see Katie Sackhoff for a little bit. Um, but yeah, overall, like I said, I had a great time. It just sucks that, time was not my friend.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the Roger Christian, man, like that's been one of the coolest things for me is getting
Yeah.
to know him and getting to know him personally. Like
Yeah.
Star Wars nerd and I were able to pick him up from the airport for the weekend, him
Oh,
and his son. So we had like a whole conversation with him in the
his son was
car.
so cute.
Oh, he's hilarious. And
Little
he and
animal.
I were picking at each other all weekend. And it was a great time. And then like you said, like he's so personable. He's so just like down to earth.
Yeah.
He had a conversation with Nerd and Nerd and Kyber Forged have had him on quite a bit on our podcast. And, he gave us a great compliment of calling us some of the most respectable people he's ever met. And I'm just like, this is really cool. Like I am friends with the dude that created
The
this.
lightsaber.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's like, what is my life right now? Like, this is insane.
Yeah, that's what I said to him. Like when finally, like he was getting people at his table, and I kept telling him, I was like, Roger, I was like, go make money. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to bother you. And he was like, no, they can wait. They can wait. And we were talking, and I said to him, I go, I I said, I'm excited that I got to meet all these other people here. I said, but I think this was the highlight of my day.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me, and I said to him, I go, the fact that I'm having a conversation with the man who invented the lightsaber, I already interviewed you. but we're finally meeting face to face, and like you're friends with me on Instagram. Like we talk on a regular basis. I was like,
Same.
this is the most like rewarding thing ever.
Yes, it is. And like if I could tell my 8-year-old self that, hey, one day you're gonna be friends with the dude that created that fun lightsaber you love, like I would have been like, yeah, okay, dude. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
it's like you want to pinch yourself.
100%. It's so cool. It's so cool. So we're both going to different cons this summer, but one of the ones that I think we're both going to is Rebel Scum Con.
Yes.
Um, I've never been. Did you go last year?
Yes, I went.
Okay.
It was phenomenal. I had the best time of my life.
That's what I heard. It was kind of like because it was their first year last year, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And it was kind of flew in under the radar, but everyone that I know that have gone that went were like, dude, this con is amazing. So like what for you made it like for us that haven't gone that are going now, like what made it so amazing to you and like
I think it was because it was such, like I say this all the time because it was their first con. So, like, not a lot of people knew of it. So, it was a very intimate, more personal con. It was awesome that, like, I got to meet Ahmad Best, and I was freaking out about asking him to interview him. And he was just, excuse my language, he was shooting the shit at his table.
love it.
He had just came back from eating. Um, he signed my autographs, and then afterwards, like he was just looking around, and I walked up to him very casually, and I was like, "Can I interview you?" And he was like, "Yeah, why not?" Like
That's
no
so cool.
hesitation or nothing. And I said to him, I go, "I don't want to take up any of your time." And I said, "I just want to interview you and ask you one question I've always wanted to ask." And he was like, I muted myself. He said, "Do you ask this question to everybody?" And I said, "No." I'm like, "I have different questions for different people." So I asked him, I filmed it, asked him, and he gave probably the greatest response I've ever heard. Um, and plus, with that con, it was nice to see that all the celebrities that were there were also fans of each other.
That's
So you
cool.
got to see like my friend Susanna Malik, who plays a Jawa in certain episodes of The Mandalorian. She was walking around with this big Star Wars poster. Sorry.
No, you're good.
And she was getting every actor that was there to sign the poster for her. And she
That
was
is
just
so cool.
geeking out. People like Chris Bartlett were walking up to Brendan Wayne, like high fiving him and getting signatures of each other.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. And it was just nice. Like, and also at that hotel where they host it, there's a bar. And like the first night after everything was done, some of the celebrities were all hanging out at the bar.
That's
And we
cool.
were just there hanging out with them. No phones, no, sorry.
You're fine.
It was like no phones, no, everybody was getting to know each other as human beings.
Yes.
Nobody was live streaming. Like I was hanging out with his name on social media used to be Star Wars Replicas. Now he's Gabe's Empire.
Okay.
He's like he has like one of the largest Star Wars pages of all time.
That's cool.
He has like master replicas in his home. But like we were hanging out with them. We went to dinner with them. Um we went out as a group. It was like 30 of us went to dinner with the guy who portrays Snoke. He's the body of
What?
Snoke.
That's so cool. That is so cool. Like it's stuff like that. Like even ICCC, when I was there at ICCC, like there was kind of that feeling, like you're sitting there eating dinner, and there's Lewis McLeod sitting there talking to the guy who voiced Watto, Andy Sicombe.
Yeah, Andy
Um,
Sicombe.
they're just sitting there just chatting, which that's I don't did you hear about that story at all? The card?
Oh, with the card? Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally left as they were starting that to go to the airport.
Oh man, you missed it by like minutes.
I know. I literally messaged Tony and I was like, I literally missed this as I was heading to the airport. And he
Oh,
was laughing.
that's crazy. We got Star Wars nerd in the building. What's up? Well, what have we here? We have some trouble here. No. Macman wants you to know he's subbed to your channel.
Oh, thank you.
And then he wants to know what's your favorite thing in your personal collection?
Ugh. So there's this company on Facebook. They're called, hold on. I want to get the name correct. It's this gentleman by the name of Hector Cruz. He has this online company where they do signatures, and they get signatures from some Star Wars celebrities that you would never think to get. And they did one with Marsha Lucas, who is George Lucas's ex-wife.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't care if anybody gets upset with me with the statement I'm about to say, but if it wasn't for Marsha, I do not think that George would have been able to do some of the things that he did with certain films.
No. It
And
was
a lot
her
of
that brought the
people,
Force in because he wanted to
yes,
cut it out of the movie, and
and
she
she brought it in.
yeah.
So on Hector's Facebook group, he had announced a while back that he was doing a private signing with Marsha Lucas. And
That's
there's this
cool.
guy in that Facebook group page also. His name is David Bordeaux, who's an incredible artist. And he did a portrait picture of Marsha. I'll send you the photo of it. It's on my
Yes.
Instagram. And he was like, I'm going to do a limited run of these. You can purchase this, and that includes the signature with Marsha. So I ended up getting that. And then like
That's
within a
cool.
month later, it got delivered to my house. And Marsha doesn't do signings.
No.
So the fact that I have that, it's probably one of the most rarest signatures that I have. And
That's so cool.
yeah, I've made jokes before. I've made jokes before saying, if a fire ever happens in my home, that's probably one of the first items I'm grabbing.
100%. 100%. By the
I'll
way,
never sell that
no,
item.
I wouldn't either. No, because you're never going to be able to really get that again.
She did a second run of signatures because I think now she's getting very comfortable with the fan base. Plus, the Nacelle company did a whole documentary on Star Wars, like the documentary scenes behind it,
Yeah.
and she was part of that documentary. And we got to interview the owner of that company, and he even said it that within the past couple years, she's actually been very receptive and open with doing more documentaries and stuff like that. There it is. It's Hector's Imperial Walker Inc.
Oh, that's cool. Look at that.
Yeah.
Flex for the win over here.
Yeah, Flex is part of that Facebook group page. It's
That's cool.
awesome. The signatures they get in that group page is insane. A lot of people from ILM.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
cool.
people that you would never think would do signatures.
That's really cool. Yeah, the fact that you have Marsha is just insane. I mean, as soon as you said Marsha, right? People are like, Marsha was the key, right? Marsha Lucas was huge for the success of Star Wars. I mean,
Yeah.
100%.
I've said it to this day, like the day I ever have the opportunity of actually meeting her, or I've emailed her publicist numerous of times to try to see if I can I would love just a 10-minute interview with her.
Yeah.
I would die.
Yeah.
To me, she is Star Wars. George Lucas is the maker, but she is Star Wars.
Yeah.
For me.
Yep. That's cool. By the way, Star Wars Sith is laughing at you because you missed that card by minutes,
Dude, I'm watching all of you guys' story while I'm at the airport. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I forgot the name of the kid who pulled that card and got it signed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I messaged him, like we added each other on Instagram, and I sent him a message and I was like, dude, I just said goodbye to you guys. And he's like, I know.
It's wild, man. It's so wild. Crystal
Yeah.
Kyber says, yo, hi, Nilda.
Hi, Crystal.
Hi, chat. How are you, Crystal? Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Vicente.
Plus, I also think like the force or the universe was out there for him, because you'll never be able to say that story.
No.
I was in the hotel with a group of friends. I pulled out a card, and the card ended up being the celebrity that is sitting less than 100 feet away from me.
Yeah, 1 out of 1
for a 1 out of 1 card.
Yep.
And then he signs it for me.
Yeah, and he's sitting 20 feet away. Like, that was the wildest thing. And it was funny too, because Luce McLeod comes over and he's standing at the corner of the table, and I'm right there. There's multiple videos you can see me, and I'm just smiling like a little kid in a candy store. And he like looks at me at one point and he goes, "Hey, you should finish your food." I'm like, "Yeah, that's not happening right now. Like, that's not important at the moment." It was kind of funny. He was like more concerned about my food. I was like, "No, no."
He was so nice when I got him to sign my plaque. He was so like, he was like, "Oh, where did you get this plaque from?" He's like, "This is pretty."
That's awesome. He seems like a really
Rex
cool,
was
down to
bumper to
earth guy.
bumper traffic.
Yeah, he hadn't gotten there
Rex, I was
yet.
in the car with you.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
Rex dropped me off at the airport.
Dang. So he wow. So he missed it too. Way to go, Nilda. You made him miss it.
No, Rex offered. He's like, "Oh, I can take you to the airport. I'm passing by that anyways."
Oh yeah, Star Wars nerd. I forgot. I think I forgot how to sign my signature. That was funny. Star Wars nerd does have a question for you. What's your favorite thing about Star Wars, and what does it mean to you?
Oh man, that's a deep question.
Right.
For me, like the passing of my dad, and I think the passing of my grandfather was like probably the worst thing I've ever had to deal with as
Mm,
an adult. Like I lost my dad when I was 27 years old. I'm 37
mm,
now. And I think if it wasn't for watching Star Wars while I was going through my like severe depression phase,
mm.
um I don't think I would have been able to deal with stuff that I was dealing with.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was a big help for me. I binge watched the hell out of a whole bunch of movies.
Yeah. That's really cool. It's I love hearing these stories of how Star Wars has helped people, like my buddy Wrath of Mandalore, he had talked to Theory and literally told Theory like I was in such a bad state of depression, like your videos literally saved my life, right? And like these different parts of Star Wars, whether it's a creator or movies or TV shows, like to see like it's to some people, it's not just a movie, it's not just a show, it's not just an IP. Like it is it means literally the world to them, right? It's saved people's lives. It really has. Um,
Yeah.
and it's really cool to see. Um,
Hold on, my 10-week-old puppy is crying, so I'm gonna bring her with me.
sounds good. I can't wait to see this puppy. I've seen it on Instagram. Oh, she's so cute.
My little wiener dog.
I love it. What's up? Oh man, it's so teeny. So cute. I love it. What's
She's
the
like,
name?
"Mom, I want to." So we named her Blanche after the show The Golden Girls
Okay. I love
because I
that.
promised I wouldn't name my dog after a Star Wars character.
Why would you make a promise
We
like that? Star Wars characters are awesome.
Because we wanted to be neutral, so it was like, Craig likes Rocky, so we weren't gonna name. He's like a big Rocky fanatic,
I
so we weren't
love
gonna name.
Rocky.
Yeah, we weren't gonna name our dog after Rocky.
Yeah.
So then eventually we were like, I said, my brother-in-law has a dog too, and her name is Sophia from the Golden Girls. So I was like, why don't we just name her Blanche? I was
That's
like,
so cool.
nobody will ever name their dog that.
Right? Now watch the viewership just now that we have a puppy on screen. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. Star Wars Nerd says, "That's beautiful. Star Wars has helped me so many times in bad depression episodes, especially with my grandpa's death. I'll never forget watching A New Hope with him at 4 years old." Yeah.
Yeah, my dad likes Star Wars a lot too. So, and I don't know. I felt like watching that just made me like I was with my dad.
Yeah.
Nilda, you're not supposed to show off your wiener.
Come on, Rex.
He's only
Jeez.
half wiener. We don't know what the other half is. We were waiting for her results to come back.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, we
Um,
when we got her, they said that she was half Chihuahua, half wiener dog. And then as she keeps getting bigger, we're like, this is not a Chihuahua.
no, there's no way. No way at
No, she
all.
has like the face of a Rottweiler.
She kind of does. That's
Yeah.
interesting. But so I'm really kind of getting back to Rebel Scum Con, like I'm super excited. Like this is my first year. I'm so stoked that Sam Witwer's going to be there. And it's crazy that they have
He's
guys
so
like
nice.
Sam Witwer, Matthew Wood, like all these guys, and they're like, yeah, those aren't our headliners. And I'm like, how is that not your headliner? Like, that's just insane to me. That's just wild. Um, came for Star Wars,
She
stayed for
wrote
the
came
puppy.
for stayed for the puppy.
I love it. Oh man, Star Wars nerd. Well, that escalated quickly. Yo, Clone Force 97 in the house. Appreciate you guys watching.
Hi.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm going out to Denver Fan Expo July, and then literally a month later, I'm headed out to Rebel Scum Con.
Are you
I
going
was
for the whole weekend?
Yeah, I got a press
Okay.
pass. I was able to talk to at ICCC. I didn't know him at the time until I started talking to him. Kentucky was there, and so I started talking to him, and ended up getting me I had applied a while back, but he got me a press pass.
That's
So
awesome.
super stoked. I fly out because it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I fly out Thursday morning and I leave Monday morning. So I'm there for all weekend.
Yeah, I will get there Thursday and then I'm flying out Sunday.
Okay. Cool. We'll have to link up at some point and hang out for a bit.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure like Tony and Ricky and all them will be pulling cards and stuff all the time, and which that's kind of fun to watch too, because those guys pull some like Tony lately. I don't know what's been going on, what kind of good juju he's got going on, but he keeps pulling insane cards out of his pocket. Have you seen any of the cards he's
I
pulled lately?
know.
Oh
I saw the
man.
one that he pulled for his birthday, which I think it was um he pulled out like the Han Solo card signed by Harrison Ford.
Yes, and then the Hayden, like back-to-back
Yeah.
packs. Insane. And then right before that, for somebody else, he ends up pulling a triple auto card, and it was Hayden Christensen, Samuel L. Jackson, and Ewan McGregor. Like,
Yeah.
this dude's
That
got
was
some luck,
insane.
man. Um, let's see. Is the rumor that Mark Hamill will be signing again this year true that you know of? I don't think so.
I don't think so, but you never know because I never thought that he was ever going to do cons. And then lo and behold, 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's 2 years ago.
Yeah. 2 years ago, he showed up to San Francisco Fan Expo for the weekend of my birthday. And I literally looked at my family like, bye.
Yeah.
I'm not hanging out with any of you people for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right.
And
Bye,
flew out there and
Felicia.
spend my birthday. Yeah, I was like, bye, Felicia. And I spent Thanksgiving weekend with Mark Hamill on my birthday.
That's sick. That's really cool. Star Wars Nerd says Fan Expo Chicago in August for me. Finally meeting Hayden Christensen. I may faint. Oh man, that's funny. Clone
He's
Force
so
is waiting.
nice.
That's what I've heard. Like Tony keeps saying, like now that they're like pretty much best friends. He said every time he meets him, like he's so nice and so down to earth.
Yeah.
It was really cool. How many times have you met him?
3.
Okay. Has he recognized you like by the third time? Is he like
No, because I try not to bother him, but this previous, what was it, last year at MegaCon, he remembered who I was and he like was so excited about the t-shirt that I was wearing. So I did the photo op with him and Ewan.
yeah.
And I had the t-shirt from Astro Tees, which is the side profile of Anakin before he kills the younglings.
Okay. That's sick.
And I had that as a shirt. Yeah, and he looked at it and he was like, "Oh, that shirt is awesome." I was like, "It's your face."
Of course it's awesome. It's your face. Nerd wants to know, have you met Shin Hati?
No, but Tony did do me a favor because I was in another state and he went and got the signature for me on a plaque.
That's awesome. It's nice to have friends all around.
Yes.
Macman wants
But
to know if
we
you
trade for each other.
That's cool. How long have you and Tony known each other?
Maybe 3 years.
Okay. Heck yeah. I love it.
But we
Tony's
live in the same state, so I'm only 2 hours away from Tony.
Oh, that's cool. He's a really nice dude, man. Like it was really cool to get to meet him in
Yeah.
person finally. Like he's so down to earth and like he's helped me with my channel so many times. It's been really cool.
Yeah,
Appreciate you,
he's
Tiff.
great.
Love you, man. Macman wants to know, if you lived in the galaxy far, far away, what would you want to be? Jedi, Rebel, Mandalorian, etc.
I want to be a Sith,
All right. That's sick.
and then Mandalorian would be my second.
Okay. Okay, so if you're a Sith, first of all, I got to ask this. What's your favorite Sith lightsaber hilt then? Or what kind of lightsaber hilt would you have?
Oof. That's a tough one. Sith lightsaber hilt. Oh. I don't know. I've always been a fan of like Darth Maul's.
Okay.
I love Dooku's, even though like
Dooku's
it has the weird
curve.
yeah, but it's
Yeah.
like because I saw Revenge of the Sith so much the weekend that it came out, I watched it all through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just watching him finesse with that lightsaber, especially with the hilt,
Yeah.
I had more respect for it because it was a curved hilt.
Yep. Yeah.
So
That's really cool.
yeah, I would have something like that.
What would your Sith name be?
Did Clone Force say to drop? The Clone Force say drop Tony's physical location for the chat?
Really,
No,
Clone Force? No, that ain't happening. He's a dork. You can ignore him.
that ain't happening. I'm just laughing.
Rex says Nilda does not have it in her to be a Sith. She's way too nice. Who's your favorite Sith?
Oh, that's a good one. I like Darth Nihilus. Revan, love Revan. I'm a big time mall girl. Most of my photos that I've ever done with photo ops are all with Ray Park. I have like a mallception thing going on.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, those are my top three.
That's cool. I'm a big Darth Bane fan. Other than classic Vader, like I love Darth Bane.
Yeah.
Have you read his books? Have you read the books, the Bane trilogy?
I have his books. I just haven't like I said, I purge, I buy all these books, and then eventually I start making a list on my phone, like, okay, you have to start reading this one.
Yeah, you should read the Bane trilogy. It is so good. So cool.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It's
Bane
funny, the
is
GameStop by
unreal.
me has his statue on sale.
Truthfully, Bane, in my opinion, I think if Bane fought Palpatine, I think Bane would wipe the floor with Palpatine. I think
Oof.
Bane is just in another world, man. It's crazy. Yeah, Star Wars nerd says Bane, Xana, Plagueis are those top three. Yeah, for me,
Yeah, Plagueis is pretty sick too. I have that book.
Sick. Yeah, that book is really good. Yeah, I think Bane, Plagueis, and probably Revan are my top three. For Sith. What would you okay, we're gonna do a little creative session here. What would your Sith name be?
Oh, I've never thought of that. Now you're gonna make me go into like a deep lore tonight.
I love this.
I can't think of that like on a whim, so I'm gonna have to get back to you on it. It would have to be something. It would have to be something like feminine, but evil.
Yeah. Let me know. I want to know. I legitimately want to know. I like coming up with these questions and get people to think a little bit.
I will. I'm gonna sit here tonight. Like, what would my name be?
I love that. That is awesome. So we were talking a little bit at the beginning about some of the other cons and stuff. What other cons are you going to this year?
So I've got Spooky Empire. I've got what is it called? I have Florida SuperCon, and then like 2 Sundays ago, I got to interview Vanessa Marshall, who plays Hera Syndulla.
That's cool.
And she was telling me that she's going to be at a con that's actually 2 hours away from my house, and she was like, "You should come up." She's like, "We should hang out." And I'm like, okay.
Cool.
Eventually went on my phone and like booked a hotel. So I'll be up there. That's in Ocala. And
Hey, that's where my
then,
grandma lives. I love that.
okay. Yeah. And then I've got Rebel Scum. And then I'm still indecisive because they just announced that they're going to be doing announcements soon. Maybe I'll go to Fan Expo San Francisco Comic-Con again. I'll
Okay.
see.
Okay. Heck yeah. I love it. Are you I was gonna ask, oh man, the question just left me. Holy crap. You ever do that? You're in the middle of asking questions and it just like poof,
Always,
gone. Oh
always. Brain
man.
farts galore. I think
I
it's
had
because
it
I
too.
deal with the public all
Right?
day.
Yeah,
So then
yeah.
afterwards, my brain just fries.
100%. I'm with you. So I work for FedEx office, so I'm dealing with public
Oh
all day
yeah, you're
too.
dealing
And
with people all day.
yep. And the brain fries out. Um, what is okay? That's the question. Aha, I got it. Um, obviously your channel deals with a lot of Nilda the unyielding, Nildara the unyielding,
Nildara the young. That sounds evil.
which is
He
what you
just,
want. That's the
I
Sith
know.
name.
He just texted to me as well.
I love it. Rex is good with names. So out of all of the interviews that you've done, because obviously your channel does a lot, not just with collectibles, but with interviews, what has been one of your favorite or coolest interviews in your opinion? You're like, I never thought I'd get this person. This is so flippin' cool.
Oh, so there's two of them. So
Okay.
one, I never thought I was gonna get Roger Christian,
That's sick.
but the coolest one still to this day for me was um got to interview Tate Fletcher, who actually plays Paz Vizsla.
Oh, that's sick.
And we actually got to interview him the day after his episode aired where his character died. Mind you, he told me that his character gets killed
Oh
before the
no.
show aired, and I knew this secret going into watching The Mandalorian.
Oh.
And he was like, because when we were setting up, when me and him were talking on Instagram and we were setting up the interview, I was like, oh, I'm like, The Mandalorian comes out on Tuesday. You want us to interview you on Wednesday? And I was like, if not, we can do it for the following week. And he was like, no, you want to interview me this Wednesday coming up. And I was like, why? And he was like, trust me, you do. And then he's like, wait a second, would you like to know? And I said, sure. And then he was like, my character gets killed in the most epic way ever on Tuesday night. He goes, you will be the first channel to interview me after he gets killed.
That's so cool.
So I remember like texting, the people that I was in the show with, and I was just like, hey guys, so we're gonna interview Tate Fletcher. It's gonna happen on Wednesday. And they're like, why are we interviewing him on Wednesday? I said, just I go, please just trust me. We're gonna interview him on Wednesday. So then Tuesday night's episode air, and then at nighttime, I'm getting text messages like, what the F? And I was like, see, this is why we're interviewing him on Wednesday. And it was great because everybody, it was a very packed podcast interview that day. A lot of people were asking questions. And Tate Fletcher, like, I thought we were only going to have him on for an hour. We ended up having him on for 2 hours. And he
Wow.
was just phenomenal. He was able to answer everything for us. Like, he wasn't hiding anything back.
That's so cool. And now he's coming to Rebel ScumCon, which is cool. You got to help announce him the other night.
Yeah, so the guy who does like the marketing for Rebel Scum, Dante, he sent me a text message and he was like, hey, what are you doing at 11 o'clock? And I was like, I'm mostly passed out. I was like, I'm in my deathbed right now. I'm like dying. I go, I've not felt well since I came back from ICC. I was like, why? And he goes, well, we're going to announce our next guest announcement. And I was like, who? And he goes, your best friend. And I was like, Tate? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, I'll take medicine. I was like, I'll do that.
I'll be there.
Yeah. I was like, I'll be there. Yeah. Cause I talk to Tate all the time. I love him. Like every con most of the cons I've seen him, he's been there, and like me and him joke around. We always laugh. I've bought so much coffee from his coffee company that he has. And
I didn't know
then,
he had a coffee company. That's sick.
yeah, he has one that is based off of the Mandalorian. So the bags are really cool. I had like the whole Mandalorian on there, and they're so strong.
I love strong coffee.
Yeah. And we were wondering to see when we interviewed him to announce that he's coming to Rebel Scum, we actually had told him to maybe bring some of his coffee products to the con because I know a lot of people would buy it.
Yep, 100% for sure. I might be one of them. General Kenobi's bunker is in the house. Hello there.
Hi,
Hello there.
Jose.
He says you just got off the plane. Stop by to say hi. And Vicente wants to know, where did you go, Kenobi? He's probably went to the Utapau system.
Probably.
Macman says when you're talking about Paz Vizsla, he said that crushed me watching it for the first time.
It crushed me watching it, knowing it was happening.
When he slams that door shut and you're like, no.
Dude, my face was like this. I'm watching it, and then I remember Craig was like, he goes, "Why do you look like that?" And I said, "Because I already know a character is gonna die." He's like, "How do you know that if you haven't seen the episode?" I said, "Because the actor told me." I said, "We're interviewing him tomorrow." I said, "And now I gotta watch this, and I'm gonna be incredibly sad."
I love it. I love it. Nerd says he's got to head out. Just sub Dia. I'll catch you later.
Thank you.
Woo. Love it. As many subs as we can get. Let's do it.
Yes.
That's cool. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do. I've been kind of trying to get those interviews, with folks. And it doesn't matter what part of Star Wars they're in, actors,
Yeah.
artists, fellow YouTubers such as yourself. Like, I love interviewing anyone and everyone that I can. Because it's cool. Everyone has a story,
Mhm.
everyone is affected by Star Wars in a different way. And I love getting people's stories. So the fact that you were able to interview him the night or the day after is just so cool.
Yeah. Flex put on the comment, Tate was fun. He
Yes.
watched it. And it was hysterical because the whole entire time I'm like, I knew he was gonna be dead, and I couldn't tell nobody.
Was it killing you? I bet it was killing you inside.
Oh,
Like,
dude, no, I found out about this. So I talked to him on what was it? It was Friday the week before. And then he was like, "Oh, let me get back to you on Monday." He's like, "I have a whole bunch of stuff going on." So I was like, "All right." Monday comes, he sends me a message, and then he tells me, and this was like at like 10 in the morning. So I knew all Monday, all Tuesday, and I'm just like, man, I can't say anything about this.
this sucks. Yeah. Dang. Well, it worked out. Like you said, you were the first one to be able to interview him right after. So
Yeah. And then a whole bunch of other podcasts were getting him right afterwards. It was
that's
like the most
awesome.
popular thing for like a month.
That's sick. You was he pissed that his character was
No, because Tate as a person, he's all about like honor and glory.
that's
So I
cool.
think that's why Paz Vizsla was such a great character for him, because Paz is the same way. He was about
Yeah.
honor and glory and about the clan and fighting for your brothers. And he was ecstatic about how his character went out.
That's
He
cool.
went out guns blazing, protecting the clan.
Yeah.
Fighting for his brothers and sisters. And because of the fact that Tate resembles those features as a person, he was the perfect person to have played that character.
That is so cool.
And it's
I'm
nice because that character was played by multiple people. It wasn't just Tate. Like, Jon Favreau was the voice of Paz Vizsla.
okay.
Tate was the body and he did some of the stunts, but there was also other stunt workers as well for that character.
That's so cool. One of the things I got to do at ICCC, and I know you said you met him, is Brendan Wayne.
Yes.
And he's hilarious, man. We had a fun interaction with him at the con, talking to him and such. And then the day that we were supposed to leave, I'm sitting next to the table, next to the elevator with some friends, and he gets off the elevator and he's coming around by the table. And I was like, "Hey, Mr. Wayne, hey, thanks for talking yesterday. It was really cool to talk to you." And he looks at me smiling and goes, "No, it wasn't. Get better standards." And then walks away. I was like, that is hilarious. He is such another guy that's just so down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize, and this is, I guess, shame on me, I didn't realize he's the grandson of John Wayne.
Yeah.
And I love John Wayne.
So now when people find that out, you kind of understand why he was a perfect fit to play the
100%.
Mandalorian, because it's supposed to be
A Western.
a Western.
Yes.
And he embodies exactly his grandfather.
Yes,
He
he does.
walks like him. Sometimes you'll see Brendan, like we interviewed him too, and like his mannerisms, how he talks, how he acts, how especially how he walks. It's literally his grandfather.
Yes. And
So
it's so cool.
it's so beautiful that, the creators of The Mandalorian were like, you know what? We're going to hire John Wayne's grandson to do the stunt and be the Mandalorian.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something I asked him too at the table. And, he said, yeah, he's like, because I was like, I'm sure, like, as you're doing this, right? Because it's a space Western. Like,
Mhm.
are there moments where you're like sitting there, like, trying to channel your grandpa, like, okay, I gotta channel my inner grandpa, like I gotta get this. And he's like, oh yeah, all the time. He goes, especially, there's the scene right at the beginning, where he walks in and he's got the spurs, right? And there's that certain walk he's walking with. He goes, I channeled my grandpa in that,
Mhm.
and I'm like, this is so cool. Like, I love it.
Yeah, and he looks just like his grandfather when his grandfather was younger.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah.
100%.
And
Yeah.
he's so funny. He's so nice.
He is. He's really funny, really nice. He gave us a bunch of stickers. I got his.
Yeah,
I
see,
love that
like
he's got the
that's
hat on with it.
yeah, it's like the symbol of his grandfather.
100%. Yeah. And I love that he embraces it. Like, he doesn't obviously try to use it for gain in this,
Yeah.
but he at the same time embraces that legacy, and is trying to like live honorably through it and pass it on.
Yeah. I will say one of my favorite things about Brendan Wayne is, and this has nothing Star Wars related, he's all about his kids and he is literally a full-time soccer dad.
That's so cool.
He's literally going to all his kids' soccer games. He's always trying to encourage he has daughters, so they all play soccer and he goes to all their games. He is like the soccer dad, like how most soccer moms are. He is the soccer dad. He's bringing water, snacks. He's staying there late at night with some of these girls, like teaching them, helping them, coaching them, even starting youth programs for all these kids. So it's like I think he's just an incredible human being.
That's cool. That is really cool. I appreciate stuff like that.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit of Star Wars news before we kind of slow things down here. Um, Star Wars Celebration. Did you go to Star Wars Celebration?
No,
No. Okay.
unfortunately not. I had sold my tickets due to a family incident.
No. Um, we got some news though from Star Wars. They're doing Star Wars Starfighter. They're doing the new mall show.
Mhm.
I think some people got a sneak peek into some of the things for Ahsoka season 2, or the Mando Grogu movie. What are your takes on some of the things that were announced at Celebration?
So I was excited. I was not expecting that they were going to do a mall show.
Right?
I was so excited about that. Um, I wish we would have gotten like a teaser trailer or something for like Ahsoka or for Squadron, but they were just announcing it. So, they didn't have nothing, but I know that they showed some like release photos. I had friends of mine sending me pictures who were out there. Even like a friend of mine sent me the trailer for the mall show, which
That's
that
cool.
I posted that on Instagram and then that got me on a 3-day ban. So that was hilarious.
That's great.
It was worth it though. It was fine.
The mouse was watching out.
Oh yeah, the mouse was watching real hard. But no, like I love that they did the announcements for Visions.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. Um, and then just overall, like I loved all the panels, like the conversations that they had. I love how Dave Filoni paid tribute to how Ahsoka's character came to be because of the animated movie Princess Mononoke. It's a great movie. If any of you guys ever like really would like to understand Ahsoka's character, that is a movie that you have to watch. And the movie's 30 years old.
That's cool.
Yeah. So imagine this is a movie that is 30 years old that is solely based off of Ahsoka's character. And, I think you can find that on HBO Max. It's on there. I own the DVD. But, he also paid tribute to Ray Stevenson. And, like I love the fact that he spoke about that they weren't replacing Ray, they were just adding someone new to the new story.
Yeah. That's cool. I think the one thing I think of Celebration that I was really upset by is they didn't have a Revenge of the Sith panel for the anniversary. I was like, come on, guys. Like,
I, you know, that was one thing that I talked to a few friends of mine who all went, and I think that was they dropped the ball on that because
Mm.
I think a lot of people went there with the anticipation thinking that maybe we were going to have a Natalie Portman random showing.
Yep.
You know, if you're trying to draw a crowd reaction and try to make this the best celebration ever because a lot of people were pissed off that it was in Japan and it was not in the US,
Yeah.
you know, they should have done the anniversary of Revenge of the Sith and they should have brought back some of the old characters.
100%. I agree. I
That
agree
that would have
100%.
been the greatest celebration probably by far
100%.
to bring
Oh,
all those characters back.
yeah. And now I'm sure you're probably going. I'm definitely going to the 50th out in
Oh yeah,
LA
100%. I'll be celebrating
because
my 40th birthday.
ooh, we're gonna have to go out and get some drinks.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there's a reason they have it in LA, right? Because Harrison lives there, George lives there. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that Friday night, they're gonna have a panel with George, Harrison Ford, and Mark. There's got to be a panel with them
Yeah.
that
That
night.
and you know what? That's what I'm hoping. I'm also I personally for next year, I'm trying to go to the Lucas Museum for their opening
Yep.
because I'm trying to avoid going in 2027 where everyone is going to be there for
Right.
celebration.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if they're trying to make it like the best celebration ever, especially celebrating 50 years of Star Wars, you definitely need Mark there. You need Harrison there. You need George there. It's the 50th. And if
Right.
George doesn't show up there, it to me it's mind-boggling.
Right. It says if he doesn't show up, it says a lot about where he thinks Star Wars is, in my opinion. I mean, because he lives in the backyard. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and still not willing to show up. It's like, okay, I don't know about this now. Um, yeah, that's interesting. Did you get to watch Tales of the Underworld?
Yes.
Okay, what were your thoughts on Tales of the Underworld?
I love Asajj Ventress' story. I wasn't too much of a fan of Cad Bane's.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Okay.
I watched it twice and just could not get into it.
See, you're the first person to say that because I and a lot of people I know are the opposite. Where I'm like, what's the point of Asajj's story here, other than probably to keep it open for the mall show? I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And then for Cad Bane's, I was like, oh, I loved Cad Bane's arc. I thought Cad Bane's arc was amazing.
Yeah. It was good. I wish it could have been a little bit better. I
In
don't
what
know.
way?
I don't know. They just it just, like for me, it just made it seem like it was more that he just became this person because he wanted to, you know, I guess not revenge, but like I guess just like one up a friend that he had. So I
Yeah.
don't know. To me, it was just weird. Like I said, I tried watching it twice. You know, not everything you watch sometimes you're gonna like.
Right.
Sometimes you have to like rewatch it again, or maybe something else has to come out in order for you to understand it.
Right.
So for me, I don't know why. I just like I said, I could not get into it. I like the Saj's story better, but they could have done more other people of like Tales of the Underworld.
Right. 100%. Yeah. No, I thought overall though, like they're for some reason Disney keeps nailing animation for the most part, except
Yes,
for like Tales of the Empire. That one wasn't too great. But like,
I like that one.
did you?
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't really care for that one. But
It's because
like
I loved Thrawn's entrance in
Thrawn's
that
entrance was
scene
cool. Yeah.
when and then just like that whole back and forth banter that he had
Yeah.
with Morgan. It was just like oof.
Yeah. But you know what? Like for me too, like but other than that, like animation, they seem to nail it.
Hmm.
I'm like, I wish that would translate in their movies for crying out loud. Other than like Rogue One and Solo, I like Solo. Like other than those movies, like come on guys, like can we translate a little bit over here? Which is a bit of a bummer, but um what what are your thoughts on that Star Wars Starfighter with Ryan Gosling?
I'm excited because it's new Star Wars, but because we really haven't gotten that much info or pictures or anything. I usually try not to have an opinion of any of that stuff because I like to go into it fully blind.
Yeah,
Like
that's
when
fair.
they did the show The Acolyte, when they did season 2 of Andor, like I went in there with no expectations and I wanted to just enjoy Star Wars and then just once the show was over, have my own opinions of it.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
like the same thing with the movies. I try not to watch so many of the trailers because I don't want things ruined for me, but I'll still watch them. I'll catch like little glimpse of it, but I try to go in there like I said with no expectations and I just want to see some good stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fair. I think for me, the one thing that I was like, was the fact of like its placement of where they're putting it.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been a cool. I like the aspect of like a Top Gun esque like Rogue Squadron type feel, but I thought it would have been really cool to place it leading up to the trench run in A New Hope. Like you
Yes.
have this Top Gun X-wing fighter style movie that's leading up to that trench run, and I'm like, oh, that would have been cool. But
But we
alas,
never know. They really didn't release that much information, so we don't know. I know they just said that Mia Goth might be in the film,
yeah,
so
yeah,
we'll see.
we'll see what happens. I do appreciate you being on here tonight. I know again this has been kind of a long time coming.
I know I
Um,
felt bad. I'm like, I
oh,
keep rescheduling. I was like, my voice is terrible. And I
no,
was
it's good.
like, this time around, I was like, I'm not gonna reschedule. I was like, I'm just gonna keep hitting mute if I have to cough.
I love it. I really appreciate you being on here. I know you're a busy person. But one of the things I like to ask all my guests at the end is if you had a message for Star Wars fans that you want to tell, what is your message to Star Wars fans? It can be anything.
Like whatever you want to like. Don't have an don't like something because people are making fun of you and telling you that it's stupid or something. If you like the acolyte, you like the acolyte. Don't let anybody change your opinions of it.
Yeah.
Um, within like the past 3 years, I've seen people literally getting bullied horrendously online
Yeah.
for liking stuff that they don't like. You know, OT fans, prequel fans, even some of the sequel trilogy fans, all getting bullied.
Yeah.
And it's like if you like that stuff, go like it.
Right.
F what anybody thinks. Just be you. Be
Yeah.
your authentic self and no one's ever going to change my opinion of things that I like.
Right.
If I like it, that's how it is. And that's the only way that you're going to be happy as a person.
Yeah. I agree. That's great. That's one of the things I want to try and kind of breed on this podcast and on my channel is like there's things of Star Wars I don't like. I don't like the sequels at all. I don't like the Acolyte. If you do, great. I'm glad you found
Yeah.
Star Wars for you that you really like. Now, if we're having a conversation about it, I'm not going to be rude, but I will tell you why I don't like it, and you'll probably tell me why you love it and why you think it's great. Cool. But I want to be able to breed a place and have a place for people to come where they can talk and actually feel like they can give their opinion like you said, without being bullied or without being just absolutely like, for lack of a better term, obliterated in the
Mhm.
space, for liking certain things. So yeah, I love that. I love that message. That was great.
Yeah, it's like I said, when the Acolyte came out, I watched so many content creators that I'm friends with get horrendously bullied. And, I myself had some people write some really nasty comments I've ever seen, only because I liked the one episode where we got to finally meet who was the Sith,
Yeah,
who, and then just the kill scenes of the Jedi. Like, I thought the scene was incredible. And
yeah,
just because I liked that episode, and I posted on it on my Instagram page, I had certain people write to me like, "Are you on drugs? What is wrong with you?" And it's just like, the if the world was supposed to be built for everybody to have the same opinion of everything, we would be in a very boring world.
yes,
I love having friendly banter with friends
same.
where we don't like the same thing, but I like to hear your reasoning as to why you like things, and it maybe might change my perspective on certain things that I see.
Yeah.
But the word that I use is friendly banter.
Right.
I don't want to get into an argument with somebody over a TV show that I have had no footmarks in it and
Right.
creating it to lose a friendship over.
Yeah.
So like if you like the Acolyte, cool. If I didn't like it, that's fine. I don't care.
Right.
We don't have to like the same thing. But right, like I said to you before when we were talking about kids, we live in a world right now where like people are keyboard warriors and like to bully
100%.
people. And it is what it is. I've seen every fandom have that different experience. It's not just Star Wars. Just Star Wars fans happen to be sometimes the most ruthless ones.
Sometimes, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but I've lived that through that motto my whole entire life is just be your authentic self. You shouldn't really care what anybody thinks about you.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. I mean, look at us, right? Like, you like the Saj arc and didn't really care for the Bane. I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, like,
You
great.
don't see me going, all right, I'm leaving. Bye.
Right. Bye. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Like, it's cool. Everyone's got their own different opinions. Like, and
Yeah.
it's
Like I
fun.
have, like I said, I have friends who really thoroughly enjoyed the Acolyte. Stop. Who thoroughly enjoyed the Acolyte. There was, some stuff that I did like. There was other stuff I didn't like. But you don't see me going on there saying, like, I'm going to stop being friends with people because of it.
Right. 100%. And Rex brings up a good point here. He says that's like an Acolyte. Everyone was upset because he used his lightsaber as a flashlight. And if you see anyone that plays video games, they all do it,
Yeah.
which is true. I can't tell you how many times I'm playing Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, and I'm pulling out my lightsaber in a dark cave. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what's back here?
Dude, do you know how many times I have like 3 lightsabers in the corner of my side of the of our bedroom? You know how many times I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like turning on the light because I don't want to bother Craig while he's knocked out.
Yeah.
And I literally turn on one of my lightsabers to go in the closet to use as a flashlight
Yeah.
because I have one saber that if you press a certain button, it doesn't make the sound. So use that as a flashlight.
I
So
love that.
it's a universal thing. You can
It
use it for
is.
other things.
When this last winter, we had like a full week where we were without power here
Mm-hmm.
in our city, and when it happened, it was in the middle of the night when it first went out. And so what did
Use
I
a
do?
lightsaber.
I used my lightsaber, and everyone was in the living room, and I had my lightsaber on. Like, we used that for light. It was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun. It's a bummer that there are people out there like, when we do our live streams, right? Like, we had live stream of the Andor season 2. I'll be
Mm-hmm.
honest, up until the last probably 4 or 5 episodes, I wasn't a big fan of Andor at all. And the last 4 or 5 episodes I thought were fire. But while we're watching it, we have people like the Knights of Melvin on there, right? And they're like on there calling us shills and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you know what, dude? Here's the deal. If you wanna grow a pair and you wanna come on the podcast, get rid of your voice changer and your mask, great. Come on the podcast. Let's have a discussion about this. But like, don't hide behind that crap. Like, and
Yeah.
then bully people because they like stuff. Like,
I know I got called a shill for like the longest time. And because I'm a little bit older, I was like texting, friends of mine who are a little bit younger. And I'm like, what the hell is a shill? And I'm like Googling it. I was like, are you kidding? I was like, I just thoroughly enjoyed some of the stuff. I
right,
didn't say I fully enjoyed it. I just like some of the stuff.
right.
And like to answer to piggyback for what you said with Andor, I didn't watch Andor when it first came out.
Yeah.
I tried watching the first 2 episodes and it was my mistake. I kept watching it at night when I was getting ready to go to bed. And I was passing out immediately. And finally, like we interviewed Marty Matulis one night and he told me, he was like, you have to watch this. And I watched it and I ended up falling in love with it because I didn't watch it at night while I was getting ready to go to sleep. And I'm more of a person that likes dialogue before action.
Okay.
And
That's
for
fine.
me, season 1 was a buildup of a storyline that we already knew what the ending was.
Yeah.
And then season 2 was just beyond incredible. I think I cried almost every episode.
Yeah. I yeah, again, like, see, this is another disagreement, right? But a friendly disagreement, right? Like,
Yeah.
you liked it. I didn't really care for it until the last 4 or 5 episodes when there was a little bit more action. Like, for me, when it picked up is when Mommy Mothma, she called out Emperor Palpatine. Like, the monster's coming for us all, and that monster's Emperor Palpatine. Like, I got chills. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, like, she just called him out, man. Like,
Well, I think that speech was so iconic to everybody because in their minds, everybody was always thinking about the speech that Mon Mothma had on
yes,
Rebels.
yes,
So us hearing that speech, which was not the speech that was supposed to be in Rebels, she ended up having two speeches. Um, that was just like insane. And it
yeah,
was just very poetic and just like, the writers for Andor knew how to write.
they did. They did. I'll give them that. Now, the one thing, again, this is my own personal opinion. I've talked to people about this. Tony Gilroy, amazing writer, right?
Oh
Great
yeah.
director. Great. Personally, I'd rather have people directing and writing. I want great writers and stuff, but I also want them to be massive fans of Star Wars, right? Whereas
Mhm.
Tony Gilroy, he's a great writer, but he said it himself. He doesn't not really that big a fan of Star Wars. He just likes to write movies and stuff, which is great. Good for him. But like I'd rather have someone who also loves Star Wars, who wants to see the things that we want to see, kind of a thing.
Yeah, but to kind of piggyback on that, so Ryan Johnson is a Star Wars fan, and his movie wasn't.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's fair. That's fair.
that's fair. So, sometimes, you can
Gotta
level
have
them out.
balance.
You got
Yes.
to have balance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things too. Like somebody like one of my buddies, Clone Force, he's in the chat. He likes to argue that he thinks Rise of Skywalker was the worst one in the trilogy. And I'm like, no, it was definitely The Last Jedi, and especially, and I'm sure you might feel this way, getting talked to Roger Christian and learning the history and lore behind that saber
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the movie when Luke takes that and tosses it over his shoulder. To me at that moment, it was a representation of what Disney was doing with Star Wars in that moment. They
Yeah.
didn't care. They were taking everything that was built up and tossing it over their shoulder. And I'm like, I'm out. Like at that moment, I'm like, I'm done.
It wasn't my favorite out of the sequel trilogies, but cinematography wise, it was the most beautiful
Yes,
one.
cinematography was great. I'll give
Yes.
it that. But story-wise, I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like you literally just disrespected a ton of like most of the fan base by that one over the shoulder. Now, if he would have grabbed it, looked at it, and been like, "This isn't mine anymore," and handed it back to her, like that would have been different. And there you could have gone down a different road with that. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's a lot of fun opinions about this stuff. I love it.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
can rant for hours.
Same. But we've already gone an hour and a half. I don't want to keep you. I really appreciate you being on here. I could talk for days. Um, Tell everyone who might not know who you are where they can find you.
So I have my Instagram page, which is Nilda _listens.
Okay.
I named it after the little fat kid who yells at his mother, Linda listens. I
I
figured
love
I'd
it.
just use my name. I've had that since Instagram has started. So I
Nilda,
don't think I'll,
Nilda, listen,
yeah,
Nilda.
listen, Nilda. I don't think I'll ever change that name unless like eventually Instagram's like, nope, you need a new name.
Right?
And then my YouTube channel is called Appetite for Collectibles. Um, Mostly I do conventions, unboxings. Um, what else? I'm gonna start going back to my old roots and interviewing collectors with like outrageous collections. Like I recently, like about a month and a half ago, I did one of my best friend's house, and
Okay.
it was insane. And like he's never really posted all his stuff out there into the world, and like he let me do a whole 35-minute video, and he got so much love. Like almost 7,000 people watched it and they absolutely loved it.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, and I kept telling him, I was like, dude, you got to do more of this, like post it online. And then I believe this Friday I'm going to be going back to the old Godzilla house that I interviewed because he
That's
says
sick.
he got like way more stuff. He said like mind-boggling stuff.
Wow, that's sick. Guys, I just dropped in the chat a link to her YouTube and to her Instagram. So go hit that sub button and that like and all the fun stuff.
Thank you.
Hit that up. So Nilda, thank you so much for joining the podcast tonight. We got to do it again sometime. It was fun.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have you on mine.
Yes, let's do it. I'm down.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing is like, I'm sure you feel this way, like as an interviewer, right? There's rare opportunities where you get to go on somebody else's podcast and get asked questions. So I'm sure tonight might have been a little weird for you. Like, this is kind of odd because I'm usually in the other spot. So
I know, and like when I'm on the other spot, like I will book their interviews a week out because the amount of questions I have in my head, I'm just like, oh my God, which one do I ask? Do I ask this one first? Do I ask this one last? Like when I did
Yep.
Vanessa's, I was like planning this out for like a month because it's Harrison Dula. And it was like, I needed to make sure I got all these questions correct.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Flex back in the house. Appreciate you, Flex. Thank you. He's at the heart. Love you, Flex.
Love
Appreciate you
ya.
being in here, man. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you. Don't forget Road to 500. I got a massive giveaway. Go check out my Instagram for the video on that.
I'm
Get
also
there.
donating something to that as well, guys.
Yes. Nilda
A
has decided.
signature.
Yes. Woo. Oh, she hasn't even told me what it is yet. She said she's gonna give something, and I'm like, let's do this.
Yes,
So.
you'll be receiving the package.
All right. I love it. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what this is. I'm gonna be like a kid at Christmas time when getting that package. But thank you. Thank you so much for helping out with the channel. Thank you for
No, thank
being
you for
on
having
here.
me on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the start of a beautiful friendship.
Yes.
Thank you guys for watching. And
Thanks,
remember,
guys.
the force will be with you